that you have had a look on our first session. So today I'm going to conduct session 2 of Statistical Quality Control, and today we are going to talk about the concept of total quality management and about some philosophies of total quality management. And we are going to explain statistical process control furthermore, and we are going to discuss about the assignable courses and the random courses and the difference between the assignable courses and random courses. And we are going to talk about the theory behind the statistical control charts, and we are going to discuss the uses of it, and those are the learning outcomes of today's session. So to begin today's session, I'm going to discuss about the total quality management. So when it comes to total quality management, if you can remember, in the first session we discussed why quality is important. So I told you whenever you are manufacturing a product or a service to the market, in order to compete with others and in order to survive in the industry, quality is very, very important. We have to always concern about the quality. So when it comes to total quality management, so total quality management is also a very important concept. This was begun in early 80s based on two philosophies. Basically we call it as the philosophy of Demings and Durans. And when it comes to total quality management, it's always talking about teamwork, right? When it comes to a factory or when it comes to a company, you have to always conduct teamwork in order to maintain the quality of your product or a service. So that is, in these philosophies we are discussing about participating in organization and work culture, and all of these philosophies are based on customer. They are focusing on the customer. So I hope you remember when we defined the traditional definition of quality, I told you there was less focus on customer compared to the modern definition. So in this case you have less focus you have more focus on customer when it comes to total quality management. And also there is integration of quality system with business goals. That is, in order to achieve the business goals, how are you going to maintain the quality? That is, we discuss in total quality management. And also there are so many other activities to focus all the elements or all the work of the organization in order to keep the quality goals, right? So basically when it comes to total quality management means how you are going to achieve the quality of your product or the service in your company through teamwork, right? That is what we are discussing in total quality management. So when it comes to total quality management, it's always emphasizing on quality councils. That is, when it comes to a company, we need to have high level teams to deal with all the strategic work, right? So that is the high end work. You need to have CEOs, directors, all these high level teams, right? And then we need to have workforce team, that is to continue the production and all, right? And then we need to have a cross-functional team in order to communicate between the high-level teams and this workforce level team. So in total quality management, this is the theory behind total quality management. We need to have a high-level team as CEOs and directors and all, and we need to have employees who are engaged in the production process, and also we need a team to communicate in between these two teams, that is the high level and the workforce level teams, right? So when it comes to this total quality management, as I told you, there are two important philosophies in the history, which is introduced by Deming, and the other one was introduced by Juran. Right, so we are going to discuss about Demings philosophy, which consists of 14 points. So when it comes to Deming's philosophy, Deming introduced 14 points in order to maintain the quality of a company, right? When you look at this philosophy, or when you concentrate on these 14 points, you will see all of these 14 points are always emphasizing you to change. That is, it strongly emphasizes on change, right? And also the role of management in guiding this change process. Damien has nicely explained that, right? So the question is, if you want to maintain the quality of your company, if you want to change, how are you going to change? And what should you change? Whether it's the process of the production, whether it's the employees, what you should change, and how are you going to change? So these two are the questions that get into our mind if we are going for a change in our company. So the answer to these questions is well explained through this Deming's philosophy. So we are going to have a look on Deming's philosophy now. Right. So if you take the first point of the philosophy, it says constantly try to improve product design and performance, invest in research development and innovation will have long-term payback in organization. That is very simply, if I take the mobile phone example, if you are going to manufacture a mobile phone, produce a mobile phone, that is, you have to always concentrate on the performance of your product, whether the features are good, whether it can compete in the market, right? The performance, whether it's durable. So you have to always check the performance, and also you have to always try to improve your design. That is, for the first time, if you have developed a mobile phone which has the features of getting a call and sending a text message, next time you have to try to develop a mobile phone with a video call option. Likewise, you have to improve your production, right? And also, now when you are producing something, if you want to improve your production, or if you want to improve your service, you can't just think and improve that. So we need to do research. So the Damien says, if you are running a company, it's okay to spend some money on research and development, because when you spend money on research and development, you will get good ideas and you will come up with good innovations. So at that time, when you are spending for research and development, it will be a huge cost, but the results in the long run, results will give you more profit. So you have to always change with those ideas. Then you can change with those ideas. So that is the first point in Deming's philosophy. You have to always do research work. Then you can improve your product, right? And you can improve the performance of your product. And the second point is adopt a new philosophy of rejecting poor workmanship, defective products and services. So if you want to improve the quality of your product or service, one thing is you have to reject poor workmanship. right? That is, if you have an employee who has so many experience, right, but if that employee is not effective to your company, if he or she is not working enough, right, so that is, you have to reject people who are like that, and you can give the opportunity to the younger generation, right? And if you are using defective products, so for an example, if you are producing a garment, if you are using defective raw materials, it will affect for the quality of your product. So in that case, you have to adopt the new philosophy of rejecting the poor workmanship. So normally when you have an employee who's with so many experiences, we don't feel like it's good to reject that kind of people, even though he or she is not working. We feel like keeping that person in our company. So we have to get rid from those ideas, and we should be able to reject people like that, right? Then only we can maintain the quality of our company. The third point is, do not rely on mass inspection to control quality, because quality results from prevention of defectives through process improvement, not inspection. That is, for an example, let's say you are producing a bulb in your factory. So per day, if you are producing 1,000 bulbs, if you want to check the quality of your production, right, you don't have to check 200 or 500 bulbs and check how many defectives are there in your production, right? Because if there are defectives, it's not that anyway we are conducting an inspection and find out the number of defectives. If there are defective, that is, there is something wrong with your production, there is something wrong with the quality. What you should do is, we have to somehow minimize or reduce the number of defectives that we are going to produce, right? So what Demings says is, it's not about inspection and finding out the number of defectives that you have. If you want to improve the quality, you have to reduce the number of defectives, right? And the next point is, do not award business to suppliers on the basis of price alone, but also consider quality. Right? For an example, if you are having a garment factory, when you are buying the raw material, right? In that case, when you are selecting the suppliers of raw materials, you have to consider about its quality as well. Because at the end of the day, your product is made out of those raw materials. So if you want to maintain the quality, if you just think about the price, and if you select the supplier who's having the minimum price for the raw materials, it will not work. You have to, of course, you have to consider about the price, but at the same time you have to consider about the quality as well, right? So that is also an important point. And then give me a second. Right. And then the next point is, focus on continuous improvement, use statistics. So if you want to improve your product, and if you want to come up with better products, right? So you can use statistics. That is, you can use the statistical quality control tools in your production, right? Then you can continuously evaluate your product, and then you can improve your performance, right? And then practice modern training methods and invest in training for all employees. If you are running a company, you have to practice all the modern techniques, right? So if you are the CEO of the company, it's not enough to practice the modern techniques only by you. You have to train for those modern techniques for all the employees, right? So you have to give training opportunities for other employees as much as possible, because if the employees are very update about the new techniques and all, then you can always come up with good ideas and innovations, right? So that is also pointed out in Demings philosophy. And practice modern supervision methods. So rather than inspecting all the lots and finding out the number of defectives, we can use modern inspection or modern supervision methods in order to maintain the quality, right? Drive out fear. That is, sometimes we feel like when you are running a company, if you have practiced a particular technique for 2 to 3 years, we feel very scared to just stop that technique, or we feel very scared to move to a new technique from the one that we are familiar with, right? But if you want to compete with the industry and if you want to maintain the quality, you have to drive out the fear. You have to use new techniques, right? So that is also very important. Then break down barriers between functional areas of the business. So this is very important. So when you are running a company, but what Demings has pointed out is, if there are any barriers with the functional areas of the business, that will have a huge effect on the quality of your product or service. Now, for an example, you have to control your employees very well, because at the end of the day, they will give a huge impact for your product or the service. So, for an example, let's say you are having a long weekend in the coming week, but if your company is not allowing public holidays while all the other companies are allowing public holidays, that will be a functional barrier for your employees to come and work in your company. So you should allow that holiday in order to keep them happy, and if it's just a one day, but they will work more happily and it will be very effective to your company, right? So you have to eliminate those functional barriers. And then the next point is eliminate targets, slogans and numerical goals for the workforce. Work to improve the system and provide information on that. Now, if you can remember, just when you go to some companies or some banks, you may see this is our vision, this is our mission, and in 2030 number of customers will be 1.5 million. Likewise, they have some particular slogans and they have some goals, and they have put all those slogans and goals or in everywhere around their company. But what Demings is saying is, it's not good to put all those slogans and goals like that. You have to give goals for your employees. So if, for an example, if you give a target for them, like in 2025 you have to reach 1.5 million customers in the company, but maybe your employees are having the capacity of reaching 2 million customers, right? But since you have given the goal of 1.5 million customers, that employees are working only for that particular target. So if you want to get the best out of them, you should give them the freedom to work freely and also based on their capacity. And also when you can put these slogans and goals according to the information of your system, right? You can just tell them, now you have this capacity and you can reach this number of customers according to the system information, but that can be changed, right? But what Demings is saying is, you should never put these slogans and numerical goals for your workforce. And the next point, that is to eliminate numerical codes and work standards, right? So that is also very similar as point 10. So you should not give numerical values to your workforce. You have to give the freedom in order to take the best out of them. Then only they can work from their full capacity. Then the next point, remove the barriers that discourage employees from their job, right? So I think nowadays in most of the IT companies, they have given the freedom to their employees to work from home, and also they have given the freedom to work as in flexi hours. So you should allow new things like that, new techniques like that, right? Then only you can encourage your employees to stay in your company, and then only they will work happily. And the next point is institute an ongoing program for training and education for all employees. You should always send your employees for trainings, and also you can organize a program in order to educate your employees of your company about the quality and the standard of your company. And then the last point is create a structure in top management that will vigorously advocate the first 13 points. Now, you have to always have a high-level management team. Then only they will organize all these above mentioned 13 points smoothly in the workforce in order to improve the quality of your company, right? So you can see when it comes to Demings philosophy, Deming is always asking to change. Deming is asking to do research work and to come up with innovative ideas. Deming is asking your employees to send them for the trainings and educate them by organizing programs, right? You have to give the freedom to your employees. That's how you have to change in order to improve the quality, right? So that is about Demings philosophy. The next philosophy is introduced by Joseph M. Juran, and in that case, in that philosophy also, it's also emphasizing about the change, and in that case, implementation of improvement through managerial breakthrough, structured problem solving process. That is, when it comes to this Juran's philosophy, it's also saying that you have to change in order to improve the quality. At the same time, we need to have a management team, high level management team, who's taking care of the quality of the company, and 80% of the responsibility of the quality should be taken by that top level management team. So the rest, that is the other 20% of the quality improvement, is responsible by the workforce level team, right? So that is explained by the Juran's philosophy. We are not going to discuss about Juran's philosophy in detail, but you should have the idea that it's also emphasizing about the change, and you have two teams, that is the high level management who's having 80% of responsibility on quality, and the 20% of responsibility of quality is on the workforce level team in Juran's philosophy. And then there are so many other philosophies as well. So if you take this one, the Almond Philosophy, it's more concerned with organizational structure and system approach to improve the quality, lot of management commitment. That is, when you're moving from Juran's philosophy to Almond one, in this case, here also more responsibility goes to the high level management team, and in this philosophy they are more concerned about the organizational structure, that is the hierarchy of your organization, how many directors you are going to have and who's in the top level. Likewise, the organizational structure is very, very important in this philosophy, right? Okay, so here comes the statistical process control. Now you can see in all these philosophies that we discuss, so you have to change and you have to come up with innovative ideas to maintain the quality of your product or the service. But the next important thing is, in order to find out in order to come up with innovative ideas, so in order to change your production, you have to monitor your production and evaluate that using statistical tools. So that is what we are doing in statistical process control, right? So that is to have a stable and repeatable process to meet customer requirement. If you are running a company, in order to meet the customer requirement, you need to have a very stable and a repeatable process. So that we can evaluate through this statistical process control. And the process capable of operating with little variability around the target or nominal dimensions of products' quality characteristics. So if you can remember, in the first session, I explained you that when you take a particular product, we are going to minimize the variability of the nominal or the target value. So I explained this using an example. That is, if you are producing a trouser, right? If you take the medium size of a trouser, if the waist size is 32 inches, you have to maintain that as 32 inches, right? But there can be a small range, that is 32 inches, one can be 31.9 inches. That is okay. But 32 inches one cannot be 34 inches. That will be a defective one. So the nominal target is the specific value. In this case, the 32 inches is the nominal target. So we have to always reduce the variability around the nominal target, right? So in order to reduce the variability around the nominal target, we have to use this statistical process control. So it's the statistical process control is a very powerful tool in quality control process, because we can improve the stability of the process, and then we can improve the capability of reducing the variability of a given process by using this statistical process control tools. So when it comes to the variation, so variation of a nominal target. Now for an example, when you take the medium size pant, if the waist size is 32 inches, I told you it's okay to be 31.9 inches, right? And it's okay to be 32.1 inches, right? So this small variability, that is the waist size is equal to 32.1 or 31.9 without being equal to 32, this small difference can be happen because of two types of variations, or two types of causes. So one cause type, or one we call as chance causes, right? That is, the variation is happening because of the natural variability or the background noise. So that is, for an example, if there is a problem in let's say in the temperature, right? So that you cannot control. So the causes which are happening due to natural variability, we call them as chance causes, right? Things that you cannot control. For an example, temperature, right? So in this case, if you find out these chance causes in your production, and if the variability of the nominal or target value has changed because of this chance causes, we still think the process is in control, because we cannot control the chance causes because they're happening due to the natural variability. But the next type of courses, they are the assignable courses. That is, now let's say the 32 size inch, the waist size is 32 inches in the medium size pant, but it's the employee is, because of the employee's failure, it's becoming 32.5 inches. So in that case, if you change the employee, you can stop or you can reduce that variability. So the courses that we can change, we call as assignable courses. That is, for an example, improperly adjusted or controlled machines, and the errors which are happening by the employees, or failures of the products due to defective raw materials. So these things we can control. So we call them as assignable courses. So the assignable, if your process is out of control because of these assignable courses, then that is if your process is not in quality because of these assignable courses, we say your process is out of control. That is basically, if you can find out any of these courses in your process, you call it your process is out of control. And then the next point is, what we do is, in order to find out whether your process is in control or out of control, in statistical process control, one of very important tool that we are using is known as control charts. So the control chart, this was introduced by Swartz. So that is Swartz control charts. So when you take this control chart, you will see there are three lines. That is, at the middle you have a line which we call as the central line, which is denoted by CL, and then we have two other lines, that is the upper control limit, which is denoted by UCL, and the lower control limit, which is denoted by LCL. So I hope you can see this control chart. There are two control charts. If you look at these two control charts, you can see there is a green color line at the middle of both charts. So that is known as the central limit or central line, which is denoted by CL. And then you can see two red color lines which in the control chart, right? One red color line is above the central line, and one red color line is below the central line. So which is above the central line, we call it as the upper control limit, right? So we denote it by UCL, and which is below the control line, we call it as the lower control limit, which is denoted by LCL, right? So what you have to basically remember is, when you take a control chart, you have you have three lines, right? That is the central line, upper control limit, and the lower control limit. So we will discuss in the next sessions how to identify whether your process is in control or not using a control chart. So when it comes to a control chart, the next important point is how you are going to construct your control chart, or how you are going to draw this control chart. In that case, if you take W as the sample statistic of quality characteristic of interest, that is, for an example, if we are going to find out whether the the production of the medium size pans are in control, let's take W as the waist size. So for an example, let's say you have 100 pans, so we can measure the waist size of each and every pan, and then you can find out the mean value of those 100 waist sizes. So the mean value of your quality characteristic is denoted by mu W, and then using those 100 values you can find the standard deviation that I have denoted by sigma W. So the central line you have to draw using the mean value of your quality characteristic. That is, for an example, when you measure all the waist sizes and when you calculate the mean, let's say the mean value is 32.1. So you draw a chart, and in your y-axis you find out where 32.1 is and draw a line that will be your central line, right? You can denote it by CL. And then to construct the upper control limit and the lower control limit, you can use these two formulas. That is, to construct the upper control limit, you have to take the mean value. For that you have to add L sigma W, that is the standard deviation, you have to multiply by L, right? And to construct the lower control limit, you have to take the mean value then you have to take the mean value, subtract L sigma W value, right? So in that case, the L value, that is actually we call as the distance of the control limits from the central line. So the L value is it's changing from one control chart to the other one, right? But in basically the L value is expressed as, in the standard form, the L value is expressed in standard deviation units. That is, for an example, in most of the cases L value is equal to 3. That is, for the central line you take the mean value, and when you are constructing the upper control limit, that is equal to mu plus 3 times sigma W, and when you are constructing the lower control limit, that is mu minus 3 times sigma W. So likewise the L value is expressed in standard deviation unit. So you will get an idea when we are really constructing the control charts, right? So the uses of this control chart is the device for describing in a precise manner exactly what is meant by statistical control. So all the time we are talking about we have to check the statistical control of a process, but what is this statistical control? That is very precisely explained by these charts. And also you can monitor your process online by the use of this control charts, right? And also we can improve our process if you use these control charts to monitor your production. So those are the uses. And then improving the process using control charts, right? The one thing is, when you take most of the companies, still there are some companies where they do not operate under statistical control, right? They are not using control charts. They are not using any statistical control tool. So if you use statistical control tools, so statistical control charts in your daily routing, what you can do is, one thing, you can find out whether your process is in control or out of control. If it is out of control, you can find out the assignable courses. That is, what are the problems due to this out of control situation, right? And then what you can do is by eliminating these problems, you can improve the quality, or in other words, you can reduce the variability of your process. Okay, so what is important here is when you use a control chart, you can, first thing is you can find out whether your process is in control or out of control. If it is in control, you have no problem, you can continue your work. If it is out of control, you can find out the reasons for out of control, which we call as the assignable courses. But what you have to remember is, when you use your statistical process control tool, so control charts, it will only tell you that your process is out of control and this is the assignable cause, but it will not tell you what is the root cause, right? This root cause we have to find out. Okay, so what you have to do is the management, operator and the engineering actions, we needed to eliminate these assignable causes once they are found, and then we have to identify the root cause. That is very important, otherwise it will keep on happening. That is, for an example, if your process is out of control due to raw material, we can find that one because using the control chart, right? But if the raw material is coming from a bad supplier, you have to eliminate that supplier. So the bad supplier is the root cause. That you can't find out using the control chart. That you have to do some investigation and find out, right? So you have to find out the root cause. It is very important, right? And then out of control action plan is necessary. That is, once you find out your particular process is not in control or out of control, you need to have a plan what you have to do, right? What is your next step? So that we call as the out of control action plan, which is very, very important, right? So all these things you can organize if you use a control chart and the statistical process control tools in your organization. So I hope from today's session you got an idea about the total quality management philosophies and how we are going to implement those philosophies in our companies in order to improve the quality, and also what is statistical process control, and also a basic idea about control charts. So in our next sessions, we will discuss more on control charts and how to construct them. So if you have any question, please write to me, or you can send me a message through Cal. Thank you so much and have a nice day.